Broadcasting worldwide on verypaul.net. From the greatest country in the world. It's the Very Paul Show. With Talk Radio Ninja. And all around good guy. Very Paul.
Holy smokes, we are joined here now with David Pakman from the David Pakman Show. David, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. I really do appreciate it, and I actually commend you for your bravery.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I guess I didn't know I was being brave.
Well, many from your side of the spectrum run away from this little chance.
All right.
I don't know what it is, but I don't know. People seem to, like, at the last minute drop out of this. So yesterday, when we rescheduled, I thought, here we go.
Oh, no. I turned down plenty of interviews. There's no reason to say yes and then say no. It's just a waste of time.
But let's get right into it, David. First off, you have a little TSA story, do you not? I wanted to get into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, I mean, you just want me to tell what I was involved in?
Yeah, just to start with.
Yeah, well, on a recent trip, I went to the airport like everybody else, and I decided in the interests of comedy, satire, and, having interesting stories to tell, and because I didn't want the porno scanner, to opt for the pat-down, and it ended up just being a hilarious experience. I found it so funny that I was kind of grinning throughout the whole thing. And it ended up with me, I was threatened with getting a supervisor called if I didn't take it more seriously.
Really?
And if you want to know what wasn't I taking seriously enough, I wasn't taking seriously enough the TSA agent tickling my armpits and tugging on my arms, putting his hands inside of my belt, my pants, and kind of shaking out my pants. That's the type of thing I guess I wasn't taking seriously enough.
Okay, and... yeah, I've heard that story, and the reason I ask is because that's the story, that's pretty much of what I've heard you and Lewis talk about on your show about the TSA, and, of course, on the right, we seem to be a little bit more jumping up and down about this kind of thing, and I just wonder, because, you said you were laughing about it, you thought it was kind of silly, like, I mean, do you have a serious concern about this kind of thing, like a lot of us do on the right, especially when you see this news story in the last week about the 6-year-old girl? I mean, really, do you have a serious concern about this as well?
Yes, I do. I mean, and it's just I interviewed Jesse Ventura. I think it was last week or the week before. He's actually suing the TSA. So it's definitely not just people on the right that have a problem. My main problem is that this combination, this smoke screen of pat downs, porno scanners, and metal detectors just doesn't really strike me as that effective. I mean, that's the biggest problem I have, that it seems to be just kind of a charade. I don't really think that it's the best method of finding out who is trying to do whatever it is they're trying to do at the airport or on airplanes. I think there's just more effective methods. I think there's more effective training. That's really my problem with it, separate from the issues of whether it's an invasion of privacy or not.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear that you are. And so this is maybe the first one of these I want to do is, as an alliance between I guess, progressive. Would you say you are a progressive? Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah.
As an alliance between a progressive and a semi-libertarian kind of thinker here, will you have my back on that one if I got your back on that one? Can we together agree that we'll push back against this kind of thing any way we can?
Yeah, well, I would never commit to any way I can because I have no idea what it entails. But I would say, and it could be for different reasons, but we can agree it sounds like neither one of us like the current airport security system.
Exactly, and that's one thing, I think we could agree on, and I just wanted to make sure that that you were looking at that seriously too, because it sounded kind of like a joke on the show, but I know you're deeper than that, so I wanted to get that out and let people know that. Now, David, Obama, where were you at when Obama ran? Did you support Obama, or were you kind of, I don't know, did you have somebody else in mind?
Well, at what point? I mean, I voted for Obama in the presidential election. Earlier on. If you're asking me, did I vote for Obama, McCain, or someone else? I voted for Obama. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good enough. And so, would you? Are you a registered Democrat? Would you admit that if you were?
No, I'm in Massachusetts. It's called unenrolled.
Oh, okay. And so now here we are a couple years later, and the way I see it, Obama has kind of betrayed the progressives in a lot of ways, as far as, the way the health care all worked out, the way he kept the Bush tax rates, the way he extended the Patriot Act, the way he's now attacking Libya, starting his own war. And would you say the progressives have been betrayed by Obama, or is that maybe going too far? Where are you at with that?
Well, I don't know that I would characterize. I think it's difficult to say overall has Barack Obama betrayed progressives, because to make such a statement would be to blanket what all progressives want.
Sure.
As a progressive, I certainly don't know what all progressives want. I know that many progressives don't agree with me when I criticize Barack Obama. So certainly some of them must like what he's doing. I mean, I think this is a hard conversation to have. What exactly are we talking about? Are we talking about Guantanamo? Are we talking about ending wars? Are we talking about Obama's
let's just take one. Let's just take one. Libya.
Okay.
I would assume that you do not support the war in Libya, although I have some second thoughts about that. But do you support the war in Libya? The kinetic action. I'm sorry.
I've not taken a position on whether I support it or not. I have a lot of friends.
Come on. You may have not given a position, but you know what you think, right?
What I think is that I think it's too early to tell what the right decision is. With regard to Obama, what I do think is that it's interesting. We hear often this narrative about, liberals or progressives, that they're afraid to use military action, or they won't pull the trigger, or they won't keep people safe. We hear that from the right. And I find it fascinating that Barack Obama, against what many progressives wanted, he received the Nobel Peace Prize and shortly thereafter sent tens of thousands more troops to Afghanistan. He did not hesitate to get involved in Libya, like you mentioned. So it's interesting to me, it's going to be interesting to see what replaces that narrative from the Republican side in the 2012 election, because saying Obama won't use the military is not going to fly anymore.
Yes, and it's good to know that hasn't completely gone past, at least you anyway, that, and the Patriot Act, I don't think I've heard your stance on that. Obama extending and expanding it was really disappointing to me, because you should know about me, I didn't support Bush. I don't support Republicans. I am somewhere on the right, sure, but I'm not a Republican, and I do not agree. And when you rip on Republicans, establishment Republicans, a lot of times I'm sitting there listening to you go, yeah, get them. Expose this. But let me just get this point out here, too, though, that as far as libertarians against Republicans and progressives against Democrats, wouldn't you agree that in some ways we're kind of both sides are fighting a battle against the establishment to get our actual concerns in the debate?
Well, both sides are feigning a battle against the establishment, while they are both the establishment, with the exemption of a handful of individuals.
But I am specifically talking about those individuals not affiliated with parties per se, not representatives per se, but us here on the ground. I think a lot of political thought out here nowadays that I'm hearing is the establishment on both sides is taking it from their team, and the people on the ground neither side is happy as far as who's supposed to vote for Democrats or who's supposed to vote for Republicans. I see a war with the establishment going on. You don't see that the same way?
Yeah, no, I do see it. Whether we characterize it, when we're talking about people on the ground, are we talking about people with shows or just voters, or, I think...
Yeah, just voters,
Yeah, no, I think in general, voters, congressional approval has never been lower. It always seems to be able to find a new low. I think people realize that there are major problems with the political system in the country. I mean, you don't need me to come on and tell you that. I think that should be obvious to all of your listeners. And when either side is asked what the problem is, certainly they will say, well, what is established currently is the problem. So I don't think it's a surprise that we hear this kind of anti-establishment narrative from both sides. I don't think that that's any surprise.
Would you consider that harmful or helpful?
Well, to who?
in general, for the country?
Would I consider it harmful or helpful for the country that people are concerned that their government may not have their best interests in mind? I think that that's good.
Yeah, but more specifically that I feel like we're not represented. David, I don't feel like you're represented. I don't feel like I'm represented. The people that
we're absolutely not represented. I mean, the idea of the will of the people affecting political change is a complete joke. I mean, net neutrality is one of it's the microcosm of this. When you look at what are the interests of the people on net neutrality, and then you look at the fact that Fred Upton from Michigan and a couple of his other Republican buddies are the ones who held a hearing about net neutrality to ask, do we really need to watch Comcast this closely or not? And then you find out Comcast and Verizon and Qwest and Cox and one of their lobbies called the NCTA are giving tons of money to Fred Upton.
Yep.
We know what will happen. The will of the people, you're absolutely right, is nowhere in there.
Yeah, and just so you know, I have definitely spoken out against net neutrality. I just think anytime the government's involved in messing around with the internet, it usually is a horrible idea.